Hi there. I'm going to take you through a full body joint warm-up. It's a way that you can wake your body up and get every joint relationship working at the start of your day, midday, or at the end of the day. I really like this because it's an observation practice. Like, it's almost like an awareness drill, just kind of seeing where you're at with different ranges in your body. So first thing I want you to do, you're going to stand with your feet underneath your hips. Now you can't see my feet, but if you do your heel, spin your heel so that it's over your big toe, that's going to be about hips distance there. First thing I want to do is warm up in the sagittal plane, so front to back. All you're going to do, find the tops of your ilium, all right? And then from here, I just want you to start to let your hip pour forward and down so that your back arches and your tailbone goes up. So you're in an anterior tilt. And then I want you to do the opposite. So round your tailbone under, bring your pubic bone up towards your sternum into a posterior tilt. And just move back and forth through that a few times, observing how it feels. Other things you might note is where the pressure is in your feet. For example, when you go into a posterior tilt, do you feel the weight rock back into your heels and go to the lateral parts of your foot? And when you go into an anterior tilt, do you notice that you have a tendency to put more weight forward and towards the insides of your arches? Alright, that's just one way to start. So next I want you to take your fingers to your sternum. We're going to do an anterior and posterior tilt of the rib cage now. So with your fingers on your sternum, you're going to start to bring the sternum as close to your spine as you can. Alright? So this is in an anterior tilt of the rib cage. And then you're going to lift the sternum towards the ceiling into a posterior tilt. Alright? So again, observing the quality of the motion. And what you'll notice is happening with my head is I'm taking it into an anterior tilt. So my spine is flexing, and then my cervical spine is extending, and my head is going forward a bit. And then when I go into my posterior tilt of the rib cage, my spine extends, but my cervical spine flexes. All right. So one of the keys to this full body warm up is getting the different cavities, the pelvic cavity, rib cage cavity, cranium cavity, to move in opposition. So you want your pelvis moving with your head and your rib cage moving in opposition of the other two. So if I go back to the pelvis, when I go into a posterior tilt and bring my tail under, my spine flexes, my rib cage goes into an anterior tilt, and my head goes into a posterior tilt. Alright, and then when I anteriorly tilt my pelvis, everything reverses. Alright. So next, hands are going to be at your side, and then all I want you to do is focus on side bending, ear to shoulder. Nothing too advanced here, just lateral flexion of the head and neck. Notice which side feels like you get a little further, and which side maybe you get stopped sooner than you would like. From here, you're going to do rotations. So I just want you to turn your head one way, and then the other. Pay attention to the pressures in your feet. See if your shoulders try to create the movement for you. Can you isolate the head and neck? Good. All right. Next, a little bit of frontal plane. So find the hands on top of your iliums again. Feet are under the hips. And then all I want you to do is start to bend into one knee and see if the opposite hip naturally starts to hike up. Then you can do the other side. So bend into the opposite knee. And all you're doing is, again, it's observation. It's just seeing where your joints are at, okay? So what is the quality of the hip hiking? What is the quality of the hip dropping? both hands to your sternum. The next one I want you to do, you're going to laterally flex. And as you laterally flex, you want to keep your eyes out on the horizon. So even though I'm laterally flexing to the right, my head laterally flexes to the left. So again, we're working opposition. So right now, I'm shortening these areas and I'm lengthening these areas. All right, let's go with pelvic shifts now. So keep your rib cage and your head upright, and I just want you to shift your pelvis to one side and then shift it to the other. It's kind of like a belly dancing lesson or some sort of dance. But you're exploring ranges that you don't typically explore, though we want to encourage joint adaptation or joint adaptability. Because if the joints can move through their entire range of motion, the muscles have no choice but to contract. All right? So we did the hip shifts. Next, find your sternum. You're going to do a rib cage shift. So it's small, it's subtle. You're going to try and bring your ribs over to the right, back to center, and then over to the left. From here, head shifts. So imagine you're trying to listen to a conversation to your side. When in doubt, or if you feel like you're moving too much, just dial it back a few degrees and it can make a really big difference. All right. So next, let's go into transverse plane movement. Hands on your sternum. First, all I want you to do is turn your pelvis. So right now I'm turning my pelvis to my left, keeping my ribs and my head stacked on top of each other. Then see if you can turn your pelvis to the right. All right, after that, see if you can keep your head and pelvis straight and just move your rib cage and your arms around your spine. Now let's go into a full rotation. So pelvis, ribcage, head, all turn one way. And then the other way. Put your attention into your feet again. If you're turning to the left, do you experience your left foot as supinating and your right foot as pronating? When you turn to the right, does your right knee extend and your left knee bend? Or to simply put, ask you, what happens at the knees when you turn the whole body one way? When you turn in a direction, where does the weight go? If I'm turning right, does the weight stay in my left foot or does it start to go into my right leg? Awesome. Okay, a couple of more. Let's incorporate the arms a bit. So you're going to lift your arms up. Okay, as your arms go up, do your scapula go down? Basically, that's what we want. We want your scaps to move inferiorly towards your mid-back as your arms go up into shoulder flexion. Good. And if you want to take this a step further, when you take your arms up, you would anteriorly tilt, arch your low back, put the weight into the balls of the feet, and see if that helps to straighten the elbows a little bit more or get a larger reach on the arms. A couple more. Let's add rotation of the arms now. So when I externally rotate my wrists, elbows, and shoulders, can you feel your sternum lift and your spine extend? And then when you internally rotate your hands, elbows, shoulders, can you feel how that drives flexion into your spine and a posterior tilt of your pelvis? So Just notice how the rotation of the arms and shoulders drive motion through the spine to the legs and pelvis. Right. And last one, you're going to reach one arm forward. I want you to start to turn the palm up, elbow out, shoulder out, and then can you start to feel how your rib cage rotates away from it? And you come back down. Just try the other side. So start to rotate, externally rotate the arm. Can you feel that rib cage turning you out? One more to play with at the sides. If I externally rotate my right wrist, elbow, and shoulder, can you feel how it starts to pull you into a side bend that way? Release it. So again, we're just exploring lateral flexion influenced by the glenohumeral scapulothoracic joint. And you might even notice when you turn that arm out, it not only pulls you into a side bend, but it actually rotates you towards it. All right. So this is your body wake up, exploring pretty much every joint in the body right there. So give it a try it often, start to explore joint ranges of motion that you don't have, to start to step out of your dark zone or step out of your comfort zone into your dark zone, thus growing your base of support and the capacity of your joints to move you and balance you and kind of harmonize the whole body together in these simple positions. I mean, right now we have feet in a bilateral stance. The movements would start to change your perception of balance the second we would put it in like a unilateral stance, depending on what our goal with your training was. So give it a try. It's really nice. It's a good way to observe and, again, get a sense of where you are, because when you get a sense of where you are, that's the only way to go forward and continue to make gains without loss. All right? Thanks for watching. Bye.